It is 8:15 and I will call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Were there any changes?
I sent an email to you all this morning. There was one addition of a resolution, and then the other change was that slight correction in the memo that I will make.
I see a tools on as an attendee. Maybe Mike can move him to a panelist. Unless that's an old, because I see Todd's as an attendee as well. So I don't know if that's an old thing on my system or.
And no,
Nope,
that would be.
Nope, here he comes.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi, Atul. We're at the approval of the agenda.
Yeah, I was listening in.
Good.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Your second? Was that a second?
Oh, yes, I second.
Oh, okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda with approval of the meeting minutes of the regular meeting of December 10th and approval of claims for December 17th. Any questions or discussions? No. I'll entertain a motion. Oh, you're muted, Atul.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
All right.
We have, yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say we need email from you guys approving the checks and vouchers that were a part of this. So we've got Jamie's. So either Eddie or Atul, if you could just send us the email, then we're good to go.
I just responded by email, so we're good.
Thank you.
All right, now we're moving on to public comment. I can't see if there's any public attending, so if somebody's raising their hand, I guess Mike would promote them.
Yeah, and all you have to do is select participants on your menu
Okay,
and then select attendees.
and there's no hands raised. Okay. So we will move on to the general manager's report.
I just have one thing to update, and it really takes care of the strategic plan update. I've got sent out an RFP, sent it out to a couple of dozen people. The ones that I really wanted to respond, a few of them have sent me their proposals, and then the rest of them have said we're interested and we'll submit by the end of the year. In addition, I've reached out to Chelan, and they've given me their internal contact, who I'll be calling after this meeting and find out. They apparently are using a consultant, and the name it looks like it's a local person over there, which is not an issue, but somebody I'd never heard of. Regardless of that, when you look at their website, it looks like a pretty good process. So I want to talk to them as well.
Chris, it looked like their mission statement ended up eerily similar to the emotional one that we proposed.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, well, form follows function. They're a utility, we're a utility.
Yeah.
So, it's not out of the realm of possibility that our interests could be aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And unless people have questions for me, that's it for my update.
Any questions for Chris? Okay. Well, we will move on to the operations report then.
So I've tasked Kurt with being in a different meeting today since this is off cycle. He's covering for me at the small cities meeting, and he didn't really have anything to report other than we're ready. We've got our schedule set for over Christmas. We're not expecting a frazzle event, but should one happen, we're staffed up for it and ready to go. So that's it for operations.
Okay. Any questions for operations? No. Okay. And we're on to old business with a broadband update.
Yeah, so I sent a note out to the commissioners. John, I don't know if I CC'd you on it about the.
I think I think I did see it. No full
Okay.
updates.
So, I mean, I've been doing these state grants since 2006 and federal grants since 2009. I have never seen a change. Once the NOFO drops, that's it. And then it runs through to completion. I think it was Wednesday, um, WISBO dropped a brand new NOFO, and a NOFO is a Notice of Funding Opportunity. WISBO was the Washington State Broadband Office. They dropped a new NOFO or revised NOFO on top of the whole system. And basically, what it changed was the 25% match from the state was off the table. And now it was a 4% match from the state, and we had to get 21% match local. And you have to have a total of 25% match in order to be able to submit. That is a minimum hurdle that's in the NTIA guidelines. And NTIA is the federal group that really is funding this whole thing. And so there's not any way around that. So since then, we've been engaged with WPUDA in negotiating directly with WISBO, trying to get them to, essentially change it back. I don't think that will be successful because I think the reason behind this is, this is future funds that haven't been encumbered through the legislature yet. And they're looking at, from what I've heard now, is about a $10 billion problem over the next couple of fiscal years. And that's a big deal. So I think along with every other future funding thing, this one got caught up in it. And anyway, so two things. One, we're working with WPUDA, specifically Angela Bennick, trying to kind of change the approach of WISBO to this whole thing. Failing that, we're going to work with, again, through WPUDA, but with the governor and governor-elect's office. And so, first is bottom up, second is top down. And then the third thing that we're doing is we're looking at, if all of that fails, what kind of local option do we have? And between Andrew and Tyler, they've kind of cooked up a couple of potential options. They're not ready to be daylighted yet. But just to let you know that it looks like there's something we can propose locally that would make sense, at least for one of the project areas. And we'll just have to see how that plays out. With that, I'd like to kick it over to Andrew and let Andrew fill in any details that I've either missed or mischaracterized, which both can happen. Andrew?
Good morning, everyone. I think that was a really great overview of what we're presented with today, this week on the BEAD saga. So hoping we can do more project areas pending the funding from the state. But like Chris said, if all fails, then we may be able to come in at a competitive grant application for at least one of the project areas. So nothing new to report. So thanks, Chris, and happy to take any questions.
Questions? Atul?
Yes, I have a question. Do we know if this has any connection to federal? Is it purely state driven, or is there a federal aspect to it? This change.
Well, I'm only speculating on the state. I don't have there's no definitive statement from WISBO, other than we did hear that the Office of OMB, or what's the name of the OFM?
OFM, Office of Financial Management.
Yeah, they were the ones who kind of directed this change, which that's what led me to believe that it's connected to the state funding issue. So, at the federal level, next year, you could still have clawback on the NTIA because this money comes out of the IRA. And so we still have that hurdle in front of us, but I don't know if it's already been encumbered at the federal level, so it's a done deal and not subject to clawback. I don't know enough about the rules to have a lot of insight on that.
And I respect what we're figuring this out, that we want to have a common approach, and I think based on our conversations that you're actively pursuing our interests as it relates to this, working through WPUDA and Angela Bennick. One thought that occurred to me after you brought this up in the email last week is, one of the things that I was excited about is that Washington State was moving quickly. One one of the first states to exploit BEAD funding, recognizing that federal clawbacks because of the change of administration are possible. And the statement I'd like to make, if I could make it to the legislature, and I'm not making that yet, but what I'd like us to consider making is something along the lines is that, hey, we have a situation where we're have the opportunity to be first and best in the nation in a particular category of infrastructure development, which will have obvious public and personal, as well as economic development benefits. And it would be a shame that our own state, which is in many ways in opposition to federal administration, would miss the opportunity to exploit this funding tool towards the benefit of our own state in a very short-sighted way. So that's a lot of words, but I think you know what I'm trying to say, and I'd just like to offer that.
Yeah, and thank you. That's spot on. And when we were talking with Angela and Chris from NOAANET, something along those lines was discussed. So I know this is part of the message that is being taken back to Wiswell and will be taken to our other, if they go to the governor and governor-elect, it'll be taken there as well. The thing that's kind of really striking to me on this is the alignment between the state and the current federal system is 100%. I mean, it is completely aligned, and that may not change. I mean, this may be one of those things where, better to leave it alone, let it fly, because there is a lot of good that's going to come out of this. I don't know. That's speculation on my part. But the other thing is with you, I agree. It's interesting. It's us and Louisiana are the two states that are in front. Louisiana doesn't have reputation as a forward-thinking front runner in almost anything, and yet here they are with us. In fact, they beat us, which
that's wonderful. Actually, I'm happy for that. Yeah,
it is. It is wonderful. It's just a surprise. If I was to pick a state that would get there first, I wouldn't have picked Louisiana. Washington, absolutely, maybe California. But not Louisiana, but there they are, and that's good. So yeah, I guess you hear in my voice real frustration at this point. We thought we had this all locked down. We were marching, and Andrew he was going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and all of a sudden we hit the brakes, and now we're trying to figure out what to do. So, Atul, thank you for that input.
Thanks for bringing me.
Yeah, we will absolutely use it. It's good advice. Thank you.
Anything else on broadband? Nope. Moving on to adjudication.
Not much to report here. We do have a case standing committee meeting right after this meeting, about 10:30. So if we're running long, I'll have to jump off. The topic for tomorrow or today is the e-filing and proposed service rules for kind of hyper technical procedural things. I did make a series of comments to the committee about trying to assure due process, adequate notice. There's the court has proposed rules that would impose a fee on paper filers rather than e-filing to discourage people from using paper filing. Puts more burden on the court staff, may have an unintended consequence of affecting the unrepresented folks and folks with limited broadband access that can't e-file. So we're just gonna have to watch what happens there. So
Questions?
that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Okay. We'll move on.
No question.
Anything from you, Atul? Nothing from you. All right. Geothermal.
I'll defer to Andrew. I don't have any updates on geothermal this week.
Nothing like new and exciting to report other than the consultant that the tribe has, that they're working with have reached out to us on a couple of occasions looking for data and GIS data that we are able to provide them. So in a true collaborative spirit, we're helping them move the project along.
Okay. Is there anything additional on strategic planning, Chris?
No,
Other than
I'll,
what you gave an update? Okay.
yeah, I will bring that back, whatever we end up having at the first January meeting, and then we'll probably start setting up workshops around strategic planning and kind of separate that out from our regular commission meetings next year.
Okay.
And question, do you want to have those off-site? Do you want me to start rotating the workshops around again?
I kind of liked that, but I don't know how everybody else feels.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I think there were some benefits to that. I think it works well if we make sure to target and invite people from the different parts of the community, and maybe adjust our agenda a little bit in ways that would be interesting to the community that we're visiting. And so those are two thoughts that occurred to me last time we did this. Is to make sure invite people from that part of the county and maybe do something to acknowledge where we're from, and maybe even give the municipality leaders an opportunity to, or a designee to connect with us. Might as well take advantage of the regionality.
Okay.
So maybe we should spend a future meeting figuring out how to do that, craft those agendas.
Yeah, great.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Yep. Okay, thank you. We will move on to new business with action 1, approval of professional service agreement, professional surveying and engineering services with Complete Design. Will that be you, Chris?
No, that'll be Brian.
Oh, okay. Hi, Brian.
Morning, Commissioner. Yeah, they're making me work today.
Oh, boo.
This would normally have been Kurt.
Operations staff is seeking approval for Chris to sign and execute a standard agreement for professional surveying and engineering services with Complete Design Incorporated. We're lining up engineering work for next year, and this is a firm we wanted to bring on board. We haven't used them before. They responded to a request for qualifications. We received a few. We graded them, and based on a scoring matrix, we selected this firm particularly because of their strong experience in civil engineering and 3D CAD design work. The standard agreement is just that, as you'll are aware from previous agreements. There's no basically scope of services associated with this agreement, nor is there a budget. That'll come up later on when we prepare a work order that states what the scope of services is and budget for specific work. We anticipate using them next year, particularly on the Petrogas vault project, which is RW33 in our capital project list, and also to do some 3D CAD design work for us. We're trying to digitize all our drawings. We've got a number of drawings that were original as-builts that we've marked up over the years as changes were made. We want to bring those up, get them into 3D CAD so we have them digitized, easy to use. And with that, I'll stop, see if there's any questions.
Questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the engineering services agreement with professional survey and engineering for professional survey and engineering with Complete Design Inc.
Have a second?
Oh, second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. On to action 2 with approval of interlocal agreement with Mason County PUD and the transfer of $150,000 in BPA EEI budget listed in Exhibit A to the agreement.
So Brian's going to talk about this, but Brian, do you mind if I jump in and do an overview?
Not at all.
Okay, because I know Jamie and Atul have heard this before, but Eddie never has. So as a BPA customer, there's essentially conservation money that's allocated to every utility, and it's based on their load every year. And you can only spend that money with your customers. So the dilemma that we've got is in public power, you get the money, and then if your customers don't have a project that you can spend it on, it expires at the end of the year. Well, all of us know that. And so if we have a project that requires more funding, the request goes out to all of the other, it starts with, PUDs, and says, hey, we need some project money for this particular thing. Do you have any left over? And then you can transfer it around. Now, all of that being said, before we even propose to transfer anything, we check with Phillips 66, make sure that there's nothing that we can do with them. And then Brian always checks with Sumas and Blaine to see if there's a local recipient that wants this. And I guess occasionally in the past it's happened, but it's pretty rare. They usually don't want it. So with that, Brian, I'll kick it over to you to talk about this particular one.
Sure. Yeah, Mason, PUD number 3 reached out to us a few weeks ago to find out whether or not we had any surplus Bonneville funds, the energy efficiency funds, that we'd be willing to transfer to them. They pretty well used up their budget for the current rate period, which expires next year into September. And as it turned out, we do have excess, and basically told them with commission approval, we could transfer $150,000 of our budget to them. And our standard procedure is that they have to enter into an interlocal agreement, which also has an exhibit that identifies how much is going to be transferred. And the only condition is that the Bonneville has to approve the entire transaction, which they always do. So that wasn't an issue. If you were to approve this transfer of $150,000, we still have budget funds that we can use next year before the rate period ends. And under Bonneville's program, we can also take $50,000 of that budget and move it into the following rate period. So we'll essentially set aside $50,000 to move forward. I have reached out, as Chris talked about, I have reached out to both Blaine and Sumas. Sumas, there was some interest, and they said they might get back to us next year. But I've covered that base. And if they were to get back to us, we have sufficient funds that we could also make a transfer, X amount to them as well. So I'm glad to answer any questions you might have, particularly Commissioner Uri, if you have any questions about this process.
Questions?
Well, thank you, Brian, for that opportunity. I guess I'm not 100% clear on I guess the arrangement with Mason, but yeah, I'm looking over the interlocal here, but I think
Well, here's one of the things I'd like to ask while Eddie's preparing a question, if I could, Chair.
Yeah.
So what's the urgency of this particular item?
The urgency of this item is that Mason 3 has some ongoing programs.
So we should, to make this happen, we should do it today, is what you're saying, or is it?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
so they're assured they'll have funding going into next year so they can complete some of their, particularly they're doing a lot of residential and commercial program offerings.
Okay.
Getting good response.
Good, okay. No, each commissioner, when I got elected, and then Christine, and then Jamie, and now it's Eddie's turn. I don't think Todd actually, maybe Todd did, I don't remember, but we've all been through our like, why do we transfer this money and not use it ourselves? Conversation. And you know, I don't think Jamie, I don't want to speak for you, Jamie, but I'm still not super happy about that we do this, and always looking forward to the opportunity that we could find a more local way to use this money consistently. Having said that, we haven't identified that, but I would love Eddie's eyes on this, and maybe for after this meeting in the new year, if it might be beneficial to have the new commissioner, if you're interested, of course, dig into this issue and figure out if there's any way to use this money even in a better way. It's great to give it to Mason. I'm not complaining about that, but I'd like to use it in even more local way. So.
And one thing, you know, we always look at, it has to go to another Bonneville customer. So, you know, there's no way to transfer it to the city of Bellingham or other local communities that have good energy efficiency programs, which is unfortunate, but it is how it's funded through BPA. They only allow you to give it to other BPA customers. I get that. And that's just kind of the limitation we live with. The other thing is that from time to time, we have had projects with Phillips 66 that have been partially funded through this program. So it's one of those things where we do, you know, occasionally make use of it very, very locally and with our customer, but not every year. Since I've been here, I don't think Phillips has had a project that would qualify or that they wanted to qualify. Is that true, Brian?
No, they had we identified using a Bonneville energy efficiency engineer. There are a few projects at Phillips. The issue is it has to tie in with their capital program and their budget cycle. And you know, that's the hurdle we got to get across. So there are a couple of projects that later on, maybe the next rate period, they may, you know, basically give us the green light to go on.
And storage, sorry, go ahead.
Pardon?
Storage doesn't count as a use of funds, does it? Energy storage?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
We've had a number of questions, you know, why can't we use the money for renewable, small scale renewable projects? In the initial years of Bonneville's program, they allowed that, you know, a solar panel, you know, photovoltaic panels, et cetera. But then a few years ago, they eliminated that as the state mandates came in for renewables. Sort of the rationale was, well, utilities have to do it anyway, so why should we fund it? The other thing was Bonneville, through the Regional Act, has basically a responsibility to seek all cost-effective conservation. It doesn't say renewables, it says conservation. And
so they're buying conservation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have we ever received some of these funds for a project from other PUDs?
No, we have not, because we haven't needed it. I will mention we've used these funds in the past for both Phillips 66 and our own facilities.
Oh, good.
You know, when we rebuilt Water Plant 2 in the 2012 period, we used several $100,000 of that energy efficiency money on efficiency improvements associated with that plant. And we do periodically use it for high efficiency lighting. You know, we replaced all the lighting in the buildings and the parking lots with high efficiency choices. So,
does that mean that the Plant 1 rebuild could have uses for this funding too?
It could. The hurdle there is that if we're going to fund new construction with those fundings, we have to find an opportunity to go above the existing state energy efficiency standards for our class of facility. And that's the challenge, to find that, since the state efficiency standards are fairly high to begin with.
Yeah, we could certainly ask our designers to do that, find those opportunities in the redesign.
Excellent input, and we have, you know, charged them with that responsibility. So thank you for that.
Anything, Eddie?
Well, Yeah, in the future, I think I would like to explore more ways that we could utilize these funds through Wacom PUD. Though I trust, Mason maybe making good use of them. Yeah, and also, yeah, and to clarify, so like under the agreement, right, it could be arranged for the same shifting of funds from BPA, or the same allocation from BPA could come our way from Mason or from under this, and we would be approving these. Are we approving these on an annual basis?
On an as-needed basis.
As needed basis. Okay. Yeah. Um, yeah. And I guess I'm not 100% clear on, so what is Mason doing with the money? Like what's the
Because they're, much larger, customer-wise utility, they have a number of residential and commercial programs, weatherization programs, appliance rebate. These are all programs specified in the Bonneville Energy Efficiency Manual that's been approved. So,
right.
They've got a lot of need and use for it within their service area. I will
Yeah,
say,
absolutely. Yeah.
for your benefit, Commissioner, that the amount of funding or the budget we get is tied to the Bonneville rate period. So we'll get another tranche of our funding or budget next year. October 1st of next year is the beginning of the follow-on rate period. And that rate period is going to be 3 years long. So it's going to be interesting to see how much budget we get. But typically, we get in the range of $500,000 worth of a budget. And it's tied to how much energy we purchase from Bonneville.
Right.
So all Bonneville customers, all public customers of Bonneville will get a proportionate share of Bonneville's overall budget.
Yeah, it's just that it doesn't seem like there's any lacking of opportunities to utilize the funds within Whatcom County for in energy efficiency programs. So yeah, I'm just trying to better understand how and I understand coming in here, I'm missing some context as how to background of the decision, but
Well, one thing to think about, Commissioner, the eligibility for this is only for other Bonneville customers. So in Whatcom County, that's us, Sumas, and Blaine. That's it. So there's a ton of other EEI needs out there that can't be addressed through this. It's just not eligible.
It
And
just has to be
that's the dilemma.
right. So it has to be utilized within our utility itself, right? Not dispersed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonneville treats this is treated as a resource acquisition for Bonneville. And so you have to have an efficiency project that reduces electric load on Bonneville.
Yeah, I guess but that would extend to, that extends to our electric customer as far as
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, and I guess for upgrade at Phillips 66, $150,000 is not very much. But or I understand and if this fills a hole for Mason County and they got the project ready to go, that makes sense. I understand at this point in time. I guess it's just now I'm being aware of where there may be future opportunities. That is something I'd like to explore further. Where I imagine there is some improvements that can be made. And but yeah, I'm okay with approving this here now.
Great. I would like to say one thing. I'm actually really happy that it's going to Mason PUD because it sounds like they have an extensive number of customers, residential customers that can use this energy efficiency money. And it doesn't really matter, I would prefer for Whatcom County to have first dibs, and they do. But, whether it's a home in Whatcom County or in Mason County that needs an energy credit or rebate, I'm glad it's being used. Yeah, so go ahead, Atul.
I was just wondering, maybe in a future one of our regional meetings, it can be again in Blaine. and we could put this on the agenda, and we can have the energy efficiency opportunities discussion. Say, because we'd love to, Whatcom PD would love to fund energy efficiency in Blaine, and maybe have a side discussion, or put it right on the middle of the agenda to explore that with Blaine.
Yeah, I imagine there would be interest from home. You know, I'm a Blaine Electric customer, and we never receive any information about energy efficiency. So I imagine there'd be some interest. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we don't want to undermine Blaine Municipal Utility in any way. We want to support Blaine Municipal Utility. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
but understanding that, yeah, if Blaine and CMAS were to want to expand programs to their customers, and we were able to help boost that through our allocation, yeah, absolutely, we would look interested to explore that. But for now, yeah, I agree with Commissioner Arnett that this will be put to good use to serve the customers in Mason County.
So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to do the transfer to Mason County for our EEI funds from Bonneville Power.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
Thanks,
So-
commissioners.
Because of the timing of the year, will you be putting a bow on that, Jack?
Yeah. Trust me, you know, it hasn't been brought up, but it does, when we make these transfers, it buys goodwill of those other utilities, and I always
You
feel that they would support us if we had a need as well, so
You bet.
thank you.
Okay, resolution 1. Resolution number 868, delegation of authority.
And I believe this one is Annette, if she is online someplace. She's over in the participants. There we go. Okay, Annette, I think you're on. If you just unmute and you can say a few words.
Good morning, commissioners. Let's see if I can get this to
Morning.
work. I wasn't expecting to speak. I'm sorry about that. So the delegation of authority is our standard end of year. It basically lays out the authority of our general manager and provides the curbs or the guidelines for the general manager and what he is entitled or allowed to do. So this is just an update to that resolution. If you have any questions on that.
Questions? You're both muted, so if you have a question, you gotta unmute yourself. Atul?
I'm just pulling up the document because I have a question.
And we have updated a bunch of the delegations below me to bring them to where we can actually run the business. And, you know, in an emergency, Kurt has to be able to authorize, you know, quick expenditures and, you know, so we've recognized that kind of thing, truing up Andrew's delegation with his level, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some things that we've done internally below the general manager. Or below is not the right way to put it, subordinate to the general manager's authority.
And they're all relatively minor. My big question is this, is that I really appreciate that our customary practice at the PUD, and I'm using that term thoughtfully, has been that the general manager has brought forward, and you have continued to do so under your leadership, items that even fall below the delegation of authority. And there's no manual for that, right? It's just your good judgment. And I've been very appreciative of that. And there's nothing, I guess my question is that these minor changes in delegations of financial amounts for your staff really have no impact on what you're going to be continue to follow the practices you have in the past as far as bringing things to the attention of the commission. So we're aware and not surprised about expenditures.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what transparent government looks like.
Yes. Okay, I'll entertain a motion if there's no other questions or discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed delegation of authority. Let's see, what's the resolution number?
868.
868. For delegation of authority.
Was there any further
Oh.
discussion? It looked like maybe you had a question, Eddie.
No,
Okay.
I will second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Okay,
commissioners.
thank you. Now, the second resolution for the day, Resolution 869, a resolution of the Board of Commission of the Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County, amending the policy for employee compensation for administrative employees for purpose of amending salary ranges.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm going to ask Lisa to talk a little bit about this, but I want to kind of give an overview. When I got here, a number of the positions had not been filled externally in a long, long time, and the position descriptions and the pay bands really hadn't been looked at very closely at all. And what we found when we went to, I think the first one was when we went to replace Brian and go out and look, we found that we were completely out of the market for the AGM, which I had suspected, but was kind of one of those feedback points where it was an aha moment. And then likewise, when we went to hire Joseph and Lisa, we found out that those positions we had to newly create them, and then they were also out of market. So when Lisa arrived, I asked her to take a look more broadly, not just at the Teamsters salaries, but at everybody else that we had on board. And so this is the result of that search. So it's a combination of what are other PUDs doing, what are local governmental entities doing, and where should we be? And just as a reminder to the commission, this is a part of being able to attract and retain the right people. Another part of it is my continuing work on the retirement plan. So it's not over. This is an important step. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Lisa if she's available. And Mike, could you promote her to panelist? Here we go. And Lisa, if you could come off mute, super.
Good morning, commissioners. As Chris mentioned, one of the first things that I was tasked with and starting in August was to take a look at our salaries and wages across the board. And we did that in alignment with the existing policy, which kind of states some of the tools and ways that we do that. So using PUD salary surveys. We also went out extensively on each position and looked at active and open positions. We tried to make sure that we're looking at what the market is currently paying, what the demand is on particular positions. And ultimately, it ended in a recommendation from me to Chris almost across the board for changes. And you'll see that almost every position in there, except for a couple of the very new ones, needed to be adjusted. And we did that with a focus on making sure that we are fairly and equitably compensating our employees, both for retention and recruitment for the long-term health of the district. And that's reflected there. And these ranges are also reflected in the budget that you approved previously. So there's no change there. You just haven't seen the specific ranges as of yet. We also did a little bit of work to try to make sure that there's a little bit more space in those ranges. We tried to make sure that there's a 30% spread, which some of the ranges had very minimal spread previously. So some of those changes are more about that. But ultimately, we were just trying to create a little bit more consistency in that so that moving forward, we can be not be looking to make such big adjustments in the future. Because as Chris mentioned, it was clear that several of those positions hadn't been adjusted in quite some time. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions? Atul or Eddie?
Eddie, you're muted.
I looked at them, the main thing that if we look at them and discover is that it's the high ranges that went up. And, they went up for, almost all the positions. There's only one that remained the same. And, it conforms to what I'm hearing, as far as national trends and conversations at within the state, with WAPUDA. So I don't have any issue with the change in ranges. Of course, with any specifics, it does come to the commission for information. So I have no issues.
Eddie?
Yeah, I was just wondering why there's no change to the clerk of board records position, and is that because it was more recently updated?
Yeah, it's brand new.
It's brand new, yes. And so we hired for that position right after I started. So technically it is because it was done in August.
Right. I figured, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we already approved the budget with these increases in it, so I
Right.
guess this is more of an FYI. I'll just say what I said the last time. It's unfortunate that it's a big increase this year, but that's, due to not reevaluating those wages for years. So
Right.
So I'll go ahead and make the motion at least for resolution 869 for the commission to adopt resolution 869.
I will second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Looks like we're at commissioner reports. I guess I'll go first. I'm listed on here first. I don't have anything to report per se, but I do believe that this is my last commission meeting as the chair of the board. So that feels momentous. We'll decide that, I think, at the next meeting who takes over different roles, but
You're definitely gonna have to open the next meeting.
yes, I'll have to open the next meeting, but it's been a pleasure serving. Yeah, looking forward to next year. Atul?
Sure, I can go next. No, I don't have much to report. I wanted to mention that I will be making a public comment. I think I mentioned it once before. Was waiting for the opportunity at the port. Port is deliberating going from 3 to 5 commissioners today, and just letting the commission know that I just plan to say that I think it's a good idea to go from 3 to 5. We investigated at the PUD. We can't go from 3 to 5 without legislative action, according to our legal counsel. And I have spoken to WAPUDA about that. And there doesn't yet appear to be support for a change of the legislation to allow additional commissioners at a PUD like ours. But it's certainly something that we can continue to explore at WAPUDA as well, to go to 5-member commissions. But the port is deliberating it today, and I will just make a statement that it does help. I imagine that'll help improve. It would help improve commission if there communications among the commission if there's 5 instead of 3 commissioners. So I just want to let you all know as a courtesy, and I also will give a disclaimer that I'm speaking as a private citizen, not speaking half on the Public Utilities District of Whatcom. And it's just an observation. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. And if you have any feedback, I'll be glad to take that in.
Thanks, Atul. I will say that it's annoying from time to time that we can't speak to each other. But I've been considering this move from 3 to 5, and I do feel like the public gets more transparency from us when there's only 3. It does force us to be just really out in the open. So I don't know. I think it's one of those be careful what you wish for kind of things. So, Eddie, your commissioner report.
Sure, and just on that subject, since we're discussing, there's definitely good arguments on both sides of that, and I'd say even just when it come up, and just my recently, I'm explaining my position to folks, and I get that a lot. They're like, "Well, why don't you just move to 5 commissioners?" It's like there's only three. If there's three and two makes a quorum, it seems like, yeah. I mean, a lot. It seems like a lot of folks share that view that they could see with just more folks working on the board. They think that things could be better served. And it is something I'd be interested. I would probably support moving to 5. Of course, it'd have to go to a vote of the people ultimately, of course. So merely putting it up to them. And yeah, understanding that question may resurface to voters for the Port Commission, and that we're not able to do that here. And that, for a legislative change, that would of course have to be most likely be supported by WPUDA to have a chance of passing. So, but yeah, since that has even just come up a few times, and I'm sure Commissioner Desmani and Internet also hear that from members of the public. So, yeah, in case anyone's watching, we're going to address that. It would be great, but we're not allowed under state law currently. And I'm also fine with things as they are now. So I don't really have too much. I see Chris has his hand up. Would you?
I just wanted to observe that the last utility I worked for had 5 commissioners. And interestingly, the only thing they ever used that for was so that they didn't have to worry about 2 of them being at the same social event. And they never actually, in over 5 years, they never contacted each other outside of the normal commission meetings. So it was one of those things where they could do it and didn't use it. But I don't know if that
Tula
was
and I
just
want to hang.
Yeah,
okay. Well, I mean that would be it would make that a lot easier.
we want to milk goats together.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Right.
the other thing, and this is just a reminder for probably Joseph and Lisa and maybe John, if the port goes to 5 commissioners, the next time they do their legislative redistricting, we won't be able to ride the coattails. We'll have to do our own.
Yeah, we'll have to do it ourselves. Yeah,
And that could be a significant cost.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the next time we have to do redistricting is what?
7 or 8 years. It's a ways off.
Yes, it is. It'll probably be done. You'll probably start wanting to get those contracts out about 2028.
I was going to say it's every 10 years, right? Redistricting usually. Yeah.
So come on, be honest with me, guys. Are you comfortable with me making that public comment, or are you concerned about it?
Oh, I think as a private citizen, you're allowed to say whatever you want in public.
I know I am, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't want to create trouble either.
I also love
Nobody
that
cares
people.
that much what I think on the subject, so.
Yeah, I like to see citizens utilizing public comment though. Like that's great.
Okay.
Eddie, did you have anything to add to your commissioner report?
Oh, I'm only a week in here. So yeah, I'm just excited to be in the role and be in this learning period. And yeah, lots still a lot more to catch up on going into the new year, and I'm looking forward to the WPUDA trainings next month and connecting with more folks. So yeah, and I did just get set up last week with my new commissioner email and phone, and I think those should be made available publicly shortly to anyone member of the public that would like to get in touch.
I actually set your business cards on your desk thinking that somebody would come in today.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I will pick them up shortly. Yeah. I will probably just come in today after the meeting. I was almost going to, but everyone else was going to be on the line anyway. But yeah, I'll come by the office today.
Okay, I'll have them for you.
Great. Thank you. And I guess this comes to our last opportunity for public comment today. I will look and see if
I know Todd's here. Happy holidays, Todd.
Yeah, and it looks like Todd would like to make a comment. He's being promoted. Look at that cool picture. Go ahead, Todd.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. First off, let me say congratulations to Commissioner Yuri, and good luck to you. I think the piece of advice I would give you in public is to approach your position from the attitude of how can you make everybody else's job easier at the PUD. So when you file a claim or whatever, ask them, how can I make this easy on you? The second thing I would like to say is I didn't see resolution 869 on the agenda today. So at least the one that's on the website. So that might need to be updated.
It will
And
be.
then,
That was last minute. Yes, sir. That will be updated.
Okay.
And posted.
And then I never, when I was on the commission, for that hot second I was there, I didn't get to hear about Bonneville Power's EEI funds. But one of the things that I would have asked about, and hopefully in the future a commissioner can look into this, is there a opportunity to use some of those funds through Whatcom County's Opportunity Council for weatherization programs in Blaine or Sumas, because that would be reducing the load potentially on BPA for those customers. And or also after a flood occurs, there is a large increase in electric load as people dry out. So could also some of that money potentially be used for flood resilience, either in Blaine or especially in Sumas? Those are just the things that popped into my head for potential keeping that money in Whatcom County. Other than that, I look forward to just listening in and keeping tabs on the PUD. I'm really excited for the future you guys have, and happy holidays to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Happy holidays.
Hey, can I follow up, Jamie, to that?
Yeah.
Could the municipalities hire a third party to undertake energy efficiency upgrades for their residents with that money?
Typically, that's what's done. And, you know, if
So maybe all we got to do is match make. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
Yeah, and we try and do just that, Atul, that you know, and encourage them to do that. The issue with Sumas is they're just so tiny that, you know, the number of customers they reach is not large. And Blaine has kind of grown into the lower edge of where a standing program makes sense. Mason's well over that line, and you know, of course, obviously Snohomish and Chelan and some of the bigger ones, Clark, way over the line. And they have standing programs. When I was in Snohomish, we ran out our energy efficiency programs usually about 9 months into the year and just had to suspend them for the rest of the year. And that happened every year.
I'm imagining a new geothermal heat pump building in Blaine or in Sumas. That would be a flagship for them, both type of project that could benefit from this kind of funding. Of course, now I'm inventing something that'd be a good idea to begin with. I don't recall somebody telling me, hey, we need a brand new geothermal building in Blaine or Sumas. But anyway, I'm just throwing crazy ideas out there.
Go ahead, Eddie.
I am interested in further exploring this. And yeah, to clarify, right, I mean, would this be, in order to do this for the benefit of Blaine customers, would this be, we would be transferring or exchanging through the Blaine municipal utility, or is that something that the PUD could actually do directly if it was serving Blaine customers?
No, I think if it serves customers of another utility, the money has to go to that utility, and the utility has to be a customer of Bonneville.
So it could potentially be like setting up, or we could be working with OPCO and then arrange a transfer through Blaine to distribute, or
yeah, as long as that was a standing contract that Blaine had, or a new contract that Blaine had, sure, that would be, I think, eligible. I mean, you have to look at the BPA eligibility guidelines for what, you know, what would fit, and Brian is really the expert on that.
I will say that in the past, Blaine has and currently is using a third-party consultant to assist them with their conservation efforts. And they have done weatherization programs utilizing the Whatcom Opportunity Council as well. And that's perfectly legal or acceptable under the Bonneville programs.
Thank you.
Very good. And I also just wanted to thank Mr. Lagasty for his encouragement. And I don't know if you caught at the last meeting, I did express my appreciation for your really outstanding term of service and in the last 6 months, and also thank you for that advice. I think I will take that as my MO for sure. Try to make things be a good team player here for the whole organization.
It looks like there's no other hands up for public comment, and we have no executive session. So it is 9:13, and we will adjourn this meeting.